Hello everyone, welcome to another math online lesson. Our lesson for today is still about quadratic equations, the sum and products of the roots. Now, to get the sum and product of the roots of the quadratic equation, we need this formula. There are steps in solving it. First, you need to set the equation equal to 0, determine the values of a, b, and c, and then use the appropriate formula in solving for the sum and the product. So for the sum of the roots, you need this formula. S, or the sum, is equal to the negative b over a, and for the product, it is equal to c over a. Now let's have an example. Find the given quadratic equations with the sum of the roots and the product of the roots. So for example number 1, we have x squared plus 9x plus 5 equals to 0. First step, find the values of a, b, and c. In this case, a is equal to 1, b is equal to 9, c is equal to 5. Use the formula for the sum, which is negative b over a, and for the product, which is c over a. Then all we need to do is to substitute the values of a, b, and c to both the sum and the product formula, giving us for the sum is equal to negative, b is 9, a is 1, and for the product you have c is equal to 5 and a still is equal to 1. Then you will have our answer as, simplifying this one, you have for the sum negative 9 and for the product you have 5. Let's have another example. Calculate the sum and product of the roots given the equation 4x squared plus x minus 3. Again, step 1, get the value of a, b, and c. In this case, your a is 4, b is 1, and c is negative 3. Use the formula of the sum, which is negative b over a, and the product c over a. Substitute the values of b for the sum, which is 1, over a, that is 4, and for the product, you have your c negative 3, and your a is 4. Simplifying this one, you'll have your sum as negative 1/4, and your product as negative 3 over 4. Now what if it's the other way around? You have given the sum and the product of the root, and you need to find the quadratic equation. Now in order to do that one, you need this formula. You have x squared minus sx plus p equals to 0. S here stands for the sum of the roots and p for the product of the roots. Now what have you noticed in this equation? Based on our standard form of the equation, of the quadratic equation, s here is the numerical coefficient of x, meaning the numerical coefficient of x is the sum of the roots, and our constant is the product of the roots, which is p. Let's have an example. Given the sum equals to 16 and the product negative 8, find the quadratic equation. To solve for that one, we need the formula x squared minus sx plus p equals to 0. Now all we need to do is to substitute the value of s, which is the sum, and the p, which is the product of the roots. So you have x squared minus your s, or the sum, which is 16. Always copy the variable, plus take note here, your p or the product is negative 80, so you need to separate the two signs here with a parenthesis. So you have p negative 80 equals to 0. Simplifying this one, you have x squared minus 16. Notice here that you have two signs. You need to multiply the two signs. positive times negative is equal to negative 80. Therefore, the equation or the quadratic equation with the sum of 16 and the product of negative 80 as their roots is x squared minus 16 minus 80 equals to 0. Another example, given the sum of negative 6 and a product of 8 as their roots, find the quadratic equation. Again, to solve for this one, we need the equation x squared minus sx plus b equals to 0. Substitute the value of the s, which is the sum, negative 6 again. You need to separate the two signs with the parentheses. And the p, which is equal to 80 for the product. Simplifying this one, you have negative times negative give you positive 6x and plus 8. Therefore, the quadratic equation with the sum of negative 6 and product of 8 as the roots is equal to x squared plus 6x plus 8 equals to 0. Now there are situations that the given are the roots of the certain equation, like this, 2 and 10, meaning you have your root number 1 as 2 and the other one is 10. Now how do we find the quadratic equation given the roots only? So first, you need to find the sum of the roots, wherein all you need to do is to add the two roots. So 2 plus 10 is equal to 12. Now you have the sum of the roots. Next, find the product, meaning you multiply the two roots. 2 times 10 is equal to 20. Then input this one to your equation x squared minus sx plus b is equal to 0, substituting the sum and the product to the equation. So you have x squared, your sum is 12, your product is 20. Therefore, the quadratic equation of the roots 2 and 10 is x squared minus 12x plus 20 equals to 0. Now how about if only one root is given in the equation and we need to find the other root of that equation? So to solve for that, we need to remember this equation again. X squared minus sx plus b equals to 0. So for the equation x squared minus 11x plus k is equal to 0, we need to solve for the root. Okay, so s here is the numerical coefficient of your middle term, which is 11. Take note, no need to solve, no need to get the value of your, or the sign of this one, because it is fixed on this equation. Okay, and your p, or the product, is unknown on this given equation. Now to solve for the second root, we need to use the given, which is the sum. We already have the given value or the sum, which is 11. You have your first root, which is 5 here. So all you need to do is to add the two roots and equate to the sum. So the first root is 5, unknown is the second root, equals to 11, which is given already, the sum. And using the algebra, transpose that one to the other side. So you have 11 minus 5, you have your second root as 6. Another example. Now in this case, you have x squared plus kx minus 16 is equal to 0. Our unknown value is the sum, given the first root as negative 8. So using this equation, we can find the value of the sum, which is the unknown. Now take a look at this one. The given equation, the middle term of the given equation is positive, That's why we use the negative k, because on the standard equation you have minus sx. I'll give you a minute to compare the two equations here. Why do I use a positive sum here and a negative sum here? Again, I use a negative sum here because on the standard equation used in solving the quadratic equation, you have a negative sign. So for us to be able to come up with a negative sign from this positive, you need to have a negative value of your sum. Okay, and then for the product, you have your constant negative 16. Now since the given value here is the product, the unknown is the sum, we need to use the product of the root. So we have here negative 8 as our given root times the missing root is equal to negative 16, which is the given product here. To solve for this one, again, you need to divide both sides by negative 8, because negative 8 is the numerical coefficient now of your second root. So dividing both sides by negative 8, so as the other side, this will cancel out, equal to 1, leaving us with our 2, or the second root. Negative 16 divided by negative 8 will give us our second root, which is 2. So I hope you learned something today, and see you on my next online class.